with my old friend John Conte. John, I literally have not seen you since like 1994. So how many years ago? That's a lot. That's a lot of years.
Hang on, I just lost my screen for some reason. Hang on.
Well, we can see you, which
Yeah,
is
something
the
happened.
important part. But all right,
I
we're
have to
gonna,
exit full screen. Hang on a second.
okay, well, hold on. While you're
Okay,
doing
there you
that,
are. There you are.
uh, there I are. I haven't seen you in so long. We have a lot to catch up on, and I was searching the interweb to find like, okay, so what have you been
You're
doing in
aware.
the
Yeah.
last what have you been doing in the last 30? Well, I know a lot of what you've been doing because I know well your brother Steve, who's been Steve Conte's been on this show many times, and I call you guys the brother of Conte, the Brothers of Conte. Yeah. But and you all right, so first of all, I think it's crazy that you guys are able to do what you do all these years and get along. Wait, I have reflection on my screen that I'm trying to get rid of that I'm not sure where it's coming from. How is it possible that you guys can do can play together? I don't know where that reflection is coming from. How is it possible that you guys can play together all these years and get along and do that and not kill each other and be brothers?
Well, it's funny, we haven't, I don't know, the last 10 years or so, we haven't played together all that much. I, well, I don't know. I don't know how that's possible. I mean, we just had we kind of had the older brother, younger brother dynamic, I guess, when we were growing up. And where
Did you guys fight? Did he did
he
he
was the
did
more he was the more extroverted, boisterous one, you know.
he's the older brother?
I'm more of an introvert. But we just always had the clear idea and focus and passion that we wanted to play music and nothing else. So, nothing really got in the way. I mean, we really had a lot the same tastes, I guess. You could say we had the same tastes, the same inspirations. So there was never any arguing about, not much arguing about what we were going to do in any given musical situation or a band, that we had.
When
And
you guys were little kids, did you fight like regular brothers used to? Did you guys fight, or did you not have that dynamic even as kids?
uh I no, I don't remember that much. I don't remember that much fighting. There was some fighting between Steve and my younger brother more than us.
Because
You
there's
know,
four of you,
yeah, I have a younger brother and then my sister.
right?
Yeah,
And I've met your sister. I do not know your younger brother, and I
yeah,
know your mother, Rosemary, who's a wonderful jazz singer.
yeah.
So okay, so in your home
My
was your
younger
father?
brother plays drums. He's a good drummer. He's got the natural thing. He doesn't
But
do it. He doesn't do it professionally or anything.
did you guys ever have a band with the three of you?
We never did. But my brother Jeff has been playing with some bands down the Jersey Shore for the last couple of years. It's actually, it's yeah. Unfortunately, we never did.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, he wasn't back then. He wasn't. I mean, he wasn't really. He wasn't really doing it like we were. I mean, it wasn't till it wasn't until later in life when he was in his maybe 30s that he really got a drum kit of his own and started playing more for himself. But Steve and I were off being very uber focused on being musicians, and he was doing something else. He wasn't. He was a painter, a very talented house painter, and doing uh, renovations, and he's that kind of guy.
And
You know.
isn't your sister a hairdresser?
She's kind of semi-retired now, but she used to have her own shop, and
Oh
she
my God,
kind of
we're all
does
getting older.
does
Yeah.
clients, by herself.
And so now your mom, okay, so your house, I'm assuming because of your mom was very musical. Was your father, and I'm sorry, I know your father passed. Was your father musical? I don't know this.
Her father was great taste in music and very, very, very into music, a jazz aficionado, and we had instruments around. I remember he had a clarinet. I'm not sure if he actually played it. There was like a mandolin sitting there, and he's the one that brought drums home. I remember just like when we lived in Buffalo, a snare drum and a cymbal and a hi-hat cymbal, and that was it. And we would play them, and eventually a bass drum and a tom-tom were added. And Steve started out on drums. Well, my father, just great taste in music, and the early records that I heard. First remember hearing like a Cannonball Adderley live at the club, and Frank Sinatra records, and Nancy Wilson and Wes Montgomery, and then pop stuff too, Simon and Garfunkel. Bookends, that album was really the main reason I'm a musician. I guess I heard that and asked my mom, hey, I want a guitar, after I heard Bookends. And
so you started out on guitar and Steve started out on drums.
Right, yeah.
And how did that, before I get to that, and then it must have been crazy when Steve started, what do you call it, when he was standing in for Paul Simon many years later, right? That had to be
crazy.
Yeah,
he was his stand-in. You probably talked to
yeah, for like a long time he was his stand-in, which is crazy.
I think it lasted for like 4 or 5 years, or
that's quite some time.
Maybe a little longer, like whenever he was rehearsing for a tour.
And, I mean, considering that Bookends is what inspired you. So, okay, so if Steve's on drums and you started out on guitar, why did you guys shift instruments?
Then Steve.
And by the way, Steve's with us right now.
He is.
He is. He's here.
Oh, he's watching.
He's watching.
He picked up my guitar, and I remember first he would bang on the back of it. He was just banging on the back, and the strings were vibrating, and because he was more trying to write songs than I was. I was just trying to play the guitar, and I remember he was banging on it. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Hey, that's how Simon and Garfunkel do it." And I think he was, because I think it was Faking It, or maybe Cecilia, or one of those songs.
Cecilia, definitely.
There's a drum beat and it kind of, maybe
yeah.
it was something, I don't know. And but he just started gravitating toward doing that, toward playing the guitar. And thank you. And I actually then I started playing drums when we moved from Buffalo to New Jersey, and then that's when we were both taking guitar lessons, actually, for like in a little Mel Bay book, playing lightly row, in those little etude things, but the guitar and then
Lawrence Juber was telling me last week that he learned to play guitar that there was a book where you could learn to play guitar in a day. Do you know anything about that book?
Play guitar in a day now. That's right.
Yeah, there's a book. I never heard of that book.
I don't know the specific one that touts that, but I'm sure there's one out there. I'm going to take a cup of a sip.
Take a sip. Actually, Steve corrected. He was 10 years with Paul Simon. Well, there you go.
10 years. Look at that. Damn.
Look at that.
10 years.
Look how time flies when you're singing with Paul Simon.
Yeah.
So you started playing. So you were both taking guitar lessons. You moved to the drums, and I get this idea that like bass players sort of like end up there. Although I had a recorder when I knew you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had a band. Believe it or not, we had this band. We had another friend of Steve's. And he played organ.
Wait, how old are you guys when you have?
So
your
we're
first
talking
band?
like, okay, so I'm like 8, he's 9, and 9 and 10, and our friend played organ and guitar, and he had a big house, and his father was a doctor, so they had all these things. He had all, and we'd go over there, and we had drums. Steve and I would both like take turns playing drums and guitar, and we just had acoustic guitars, and then he finally got
and the clarinet, and Dad had the Mandy and the accordion. Oh, the clarinet was your mom's.
All right, Steve, you don't have to keep interrupting me. I'll take it from here, but thanks. Yeah.
No, wait, so you're 8, 9, and you're playing drums in this first band?
Yeah, I'm playing drums, I'm playing guitar. But the our friend was more a competent guitar player, and then Steve was catching up to that, and then um, we were very into the Beatles, obviously, and the Monkees, and we were writing all our own songs. Though it's funny, we had like it's on cassette somewhere. We would record on a cassette, and we had albums. Steve would draw the artwork and name the albums, and we have
And
got
so
like
what
40
kind of
original
music,
songs. And
like
but
what were your first original songs like? Were you writing pop music or rock music? What were you writing back
yeah,
then?
it was in the it was in the pop rock vein, and
Huh?
I remember one of the first songs I wrote was called "Sitting on a Log." Um, it went like
Now that could be
sitting on a
taken many
log
ways,
with
John.
my dog, who's chasing a frog, who's chasing a hog in the fog, drinking eggnog, something like that. Trying to be like very psychedelic, like Bob Dylan meets John Lennon or something. I don't know, but yeah, so we switched off instruments, but it became apparent that, hey, there's bass. There's a bass player. We need this foundation. And at first, I was playing an acoustic guitar with a microphone from one of those. Remember the first cassette decks you had, and they had like buttons on the front, and they had a little mic that plugged in. But if you pressed play and record, and that microphone would just turn into a little amplifier coming through that little speaker. So I'd stuck that inside the sound hole of the guitar, and was but it was kind of ridiculous. You couldn't really hear it over the drum. Eventually, my brother got the electric guitar, and then we had two electric guitars, so I would play bass on one of the guitars. And then I got a bass finally when I was 10. My mom bought me a bass, and
Now wait,
yeah, which I
why
still
did
have. I still have
why
both
did you get that bass?
because
You
because
because you guys needed a bass player?
yeah, she I guess she knew what was going on, and that I was uh, uh, drifting toward the base. I'd rather not say relegated, but we were no. That I was, and so from that point on, yeah, I had a real bass and a little.
So
And
what was the first bass that you said you still have?
I still have it. It's a Harmony. It's a semi-hollow
Oh my
American Harmony company. It's like a 1966 Harmony bass, and it
My
sounds
first guitar was a
fantastic.
Harmony Sovereign. Holy shit.
What's that?
My first guitar was a Harmony Sovereign, an
Ah,
acoustic
okay.
guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. And it sounds incredible. I mean, it's kind of like a secret weapon. Like I rediscovered it, 20 years ago because it was just sitting and the original pickup died and my bass tech put another pickup in it. But it still sounds amazing. And on records, like I would bring it in the studio and the engineer would say, "What is that? Play that," and I've played it on Steve's records. I played it on the Conte's record,
Wow.
played it
Did you take bass lessons or did you teach yourself?
I was, I was kind of teaching myself basically, but I did have some lessons from some of the guys that my mom worked with. Few lessons I did have a few lessons back then, and nothing that, nothing that was like, all right, I wouldn't say my playing is really based on any method, or like epiphany I had from any particular teacher, but there was show me like finger exercises, and then I would like diligently do these finger exercises to just get the dexterity of playing the instrument, and then have me learn a bass line from a song or something like that. But a
Were
lot of
you
it
one of those
just
kids that play? Did you practice all day and all night? Did you take your bass to bed? Were you really serious about your instrument when you were a
well,
kid?
I got serious. It got really serious, I guess, once I was once I was more like a teenager, and we had bands, and Steve and I had bands where we were like playing at the church concerts and the school dances, and and so we just had to be really good. So yeah, we practiced a lot, and but then and then in high school I got into the jazz band, and then it became like really serious, learning about a little more complex harmonies and that idiom, and then my mom, we started doing gigs. I started doing gigs with my mom probably when I was like 16, like real gigs where they're going out and playing lounge band and doing pop songs, doing jazz standards. And
Was it the
so,
three of you?
not always. Sometimes we would do like a concert together, the three of us, kind of like an acoustic thing at the library or the church. I mean, Steve and my mom and Steve used to do wedding ceremonies together, like just
Wow.
acoustic guitar and play Annie's song or whatever their bridal song was. Uh, and so, yeah, I started doing gigs with her as a teenager, and then went off. Then I decided to go to college and get involved in the jazz studies program at Rutgers, and I did that. And I actually transferred to William Patterson College, and those environments. I mean, they were just environments that were the biggest value, and that was just being around other people that wanted to play that music, and not so much um, my playing was not so much schooled. I don't even though I went there, I don't think of my playing as academic or anything, but you're just in there soaking it up and playing with people that are better than you at first, and you're trying to surround yourself with people like that. And
I saw,
yeah.
was it during college that you sat in with Terence Blanchard? He's actually somebody that I've interviewed and gotten
Yeah,
to know a
well,
little bit.
I did gigs with Terrence, but when I was a
Wow.
freshman at Rutgers, he was a freshman, and
Wow.
my early, that's when I first got an upright bass. I mean, I was just getting into playing it. I mean, I thought, well, I can barely play this thing, but no, I was, Terrence and the guys on campus, we would do little jam sessions, and then eventually like gigs. You get a gig, and I don't know, in some cafe in New Brunswick, or on a campus gig in the square during the spring or something outdoors. And yeah, we did actual playing together. I mean, he's a heavy cat. He only lasted like 1 year, and then like he went off to play with Lionel Hampton, then,
Wow.
then Art
Mhm.
Blakey, and then the rest is history. And he's
Right. Him and Spike have done quite a few joints together,
yeah,
as they say. Yeah.
yeah. There was some other heavy guys there. This drummer Ralph Peterson. I don't know who you think if you know who he was. But in the jazz scene, he went on to do some great things. And Frank Lacey, this trombone player. So there were some heavy guys that I got to play with there. And
Did jazz, a lot of guys are jazz purists and they think like jazz is it, jazz is the thing. What's your feeling about jazz? I mean, and I know your mom is a jazz singer.
I mean, I kind of had those blinders on for a few years. So I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. When I was like 19, 20, 21, so in that area, but I wouldn't say I just completely frowned on my roots of pop music and rock and roll, but I was really trying to concentrate and immerse myself in that. And I mean, I don't think it invalidates you that you play other idioms beside jazz, but I know there's people that kind of feel that way of that well, you've watered it down, you've watered yourself down because you're going you're going outside of that idiom, and whether you're going outside that idiom so you can make more money or do more work, whatever the implication is. But I don't it seems less like that now. I mean, there's so many jazz players that
Crossover,
cross
absolutely.
over and do pop and just do eclectic things like guy like Brad Meldau. I mean, going back to, one of the obvious examples is like Branford Marsalis, all of a sudden he's playing with Sting, and Sting gets all these jazz guys in his band. Then it becomes like, oh wow, pop guys go, we can get these jazz guys. And so
Right.
there's plenty of crossover, and I welcome all, stripes of music into my soul, to be inspired by and informed by.
When you
So
were a kid, John, what was the highest, what was your highest dream? Like when you were sitting there, when you and Steve were sitting there and thinking, okay, this is what, or aside from put Steve over there, when just your dream, what was it when you were a kid?
I was a kid. I it was probably, it was, yeah, to be in a band, be on a big stage, playing a big concert, like like Led Zeppelin or something, Uh, I used to go to shows then with my friends when we started going to concerts and 14, 15, going to Madison Square Garden and seeing shows. And I can remember standing there thinking, wow, how do you get up there? How can I be one of those guys up there one day?
Well, you've
Um,
gotten to live that dream.
but and then there was a point like later in that era where I wasn't so, after college and when I realized I'm coming to New York, and that's where I'm going to be, and it was more at one point I just wanted to play with as many different people as possible, and kind of could see myself more as a session musician in addition to being a band guy. And so I aspired to a lot of different things, whether that's um, lacking in focus or something. I don't know, but I don't
No,
necessarily
I don't think
so.
so. So
Uh,
how did this session work can be hard to break into? What was your first session? How did you do that? Do you remember?
um, what really opened up the session thing for me, was, and I saw you wrote in the post you wrote, you mentioned the Hudson River Rats, and that was this blues band that Steve and I and our friend Rob Paparosi, amazing harmonica player, we started this band, um, with Tom DeFaria as well. Remember Tom
I
from the
just want to say you guys were playing at the Rock and Roll Cafe
Yes.
before you were playing it under Acme. And I also want to say before you get to your story that Bob D. Neal says, John, you are a great bass player. I saw you at under Acme in the late 80s and went home and practiced.
Who is
That's
that?
what his name is
Uh,
Bobby Neal.
oh, Bobby Neal.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you go.
you must
So
remember Bobby Neal.
I feel like I know that name.
Probably
So
saw him
okay.
around. But
So
that band, yeah, yeah. So um we had that we started with our friend with Jeff Kent. I don't know if you remember Jeff Kent.
of
He was
course, and
Yeah,
I know his
right,
brother on Facebook. But
right,
wait,
right. Jeff,
when
he
you
was in
when
that
you
band.
and Steve and Tom DeFaria had that trio at the Rock and Roll, what were you called? I
That's
couldn't
called
remember.
the
The
Rookies.
Rookies.
In
I couldn't
fact,
remember what you were
Steve,
called.
the old Steve was the owner, the manager of Rock and Roll Cafe.
Steve was the manager, Steve
He
Principe.
sent
Yeah.
me this photo. Wait,
Yes.
there's
Which I
Tom on
which
the drums.
I believe
On
I
the
took
Faria.
that photo. I think
Look
I
at
took that photo
that's a
actually. Oh my.
bizarre look that I have back then. But here we are, the rookies.
There
Uh,
you are. I put another picture in the composite of you and Steve and Tom with Phoebe. I think it's Tom back there with Phoebe on the Rock and Roll Cafe stage, actually.
oh,
Yeah.
really? I don't have any
Yeah.
pictures. Look, here's another one I found when I was looking. See that?
That one's hard to make out.
Okay, wait, let me move it back. Wait.
Wait, where is that one?
That's on the stage. That's four sticks.
Oh God. You know,
The Zeppelin
I
band that we had.
literally have 100 photos of you and Steve playing at the Rock and Roll Cafe. I have 100 of them, like
Really?
photographs.
I don't have that many.
I have so many, and playing at the Cafe Wha, and playing at the Marquee, and playing at True
Oh,
Blue,
that's when we
and
played with
playing at
Phoebe.
Woody's and RockGirl at every one of my venues. I have so many photos of you guys.
That's
Oh
where
my.
we played with Phoebe. In fact, at the
Well,
Cafe Wha. We did
well,
one
no,
gig.
yeah,
But
that's one of them that I took. But the first one was at the Rock and Roll Cafe. It was a rainy night, and you guys brought her in, and that was when I met her. And
oh, we had this band called the Bayonne Bleeders. We did one gig, and then we had Phoebe Phoebe do a guest appearance with us at the Cafe Wha. It was a great band for one night. But back to my story. Anyway, that
yes.
band, the Hudson River Rats, like it became this big scene, this big Wednesday night jam thing at the
Mm-hmm.
Acme, and Jeff was like the producer of the night. And because when he heard us first, he goes, "Man, you guys, I got this vision. I want to do this." He loved the band, and all these. He brought all his producer, songwriter, session friends, and it became the scene. And celebrities would come down and sit in, and when they were in town, it became a thing. News. I remember News 4 or Eyewitness News. Somebody did a feature on it. But so then those guys who had music houses, jingle houses, writers, composers, they would sit in. They were kind of some of them were musicians that weren't really playing anymore. And they dug the band, and they said, wow, these guys are great. We're going to hire them for some sessions. And first it was kind of, R&B, soul, blues kind of sessions that somebody was going for that. I remember we did one with James Cotton for Skippy
Wow.
Butter. But then it turned into, we were doing other things in New York, and then people realized how, versatile I was, that snowballed into doing all kinds of sessions.
Okay, wait, before we
Records.
move forward, before I met you and when I first met you, you were in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And
Yeah, so
that's a pretty big gig. We can't bypass that. How the hell did you get in Blood, Sweat, and Tears? Were you there when Jeff Gellis was? No, Jeff Gellis's brother, Dave
Jeff Gellis
Gellis.
came after me. He replaced me. Yes. When I got in the band, Dave
Gellis was there,
the
right?
guitar player.
Yeah.
Right. But the reason is because after we all left William Patterson College, Tom DeFaria, the drummer we talked about in the Rookies,
Love Tom.
my other friend Barry Denalian, trumpet player, who's been playing with Bruce for years, and who was also with Southside Johnny. Four of my friends were in the band. They got that. That was like their first, big road gig out of college. And then, I don't know, 3 months into them being in the band, they called me because the bass player was leaving and said, "Hey, you want to do this?" I said, "Damn, yes, of course I want to do it." Just the chance to start traveling more around the country and playing, bigger shows, and with the legendary David Clayton Thomas on vocals. And but it was crazy. Like, I got a cassette of the
I was
show.
going to say this is a story on how you
I got
started.
a board mix, board tape of the show, and I listened to it for a few weeks. And you're just sitting there shedding, learning the tunes like that, and no rehearsal. I didn't even meet Clayton. I seemed like they just didn't tell him a lot of information. The manager, and I showed up at the airport, and was introduced to Clayton. Oh yeah, Clayton. By the way, here's our new bass player. I mean, I literally met him on the plane, and then did my first gig.
And you were like a kid.
It was in Seattle, I think, if I remember correctly. I mean, I was 23. And yeah, we were all 23, 24. Everyone in that band it was Clayton and, a bunch of young guys, and, the young energy, So yeah, I did that, for a couple years, maybe 2 years, from like 85 to 87.
And what kind of venues was Blood, Sweat, and Tears doing in those days?
I mean, we were doing everything from theaters to, big, really big clubs, like, 500, 600 club people, theaters. We did huge outdoor festivals. I remember doing some festivals, and where there's like 50,000 people. These big municipal summer festivals. So it was that was it. I think we didn't go. I didn't go. We went outside the U.S. once when I was in the band.
Was that your first time doing? Those were like your biggest gigs to date, I assume?
When I was doing that, yeah, that was my first. Yeah, that was my first taste of doing, not doing a little bar or a lounge or a lounge gig, or so. Yeah, so that was exciting. It was eye-opening. It was.
Steve is saying you played Madison Square Garden with Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
We did. That's right.
Holy shit!
It was one of these. It was one of these. Do you remember the promoter Richard Nader? He was a big promoter.
Richard Nader.
Anyway, it was one of these package things at the time. I guess it was like oldies or something. Like, it's funny, oldies with young guys in the band. It was like Mitch Ryder.
Wow.
The Turtles. The Association, and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Like, we were the headline. It was like four.
Wow, and you guys were the headliners.
Technically, we were the headliners. We went on last, and
wow.
And
okay, so wait a minute. You're 23 years old. You're playing Madison Square Garden. How thrilling is that?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, I remember Steve said, "Yeah, it's pretty cool. We took the subway into Madison Square Garden, and played. It wasn't with my own band, but I was like, hey, I'm at the Garden." And at one point, I remember everybody came on for a finale. We were doing What I Say, the Ray Charles tune.
Uh-huh.
Everybody came out. Members from all the bands came out and jammed, and eventually. What I say, blah, 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 and Clayton was out there, and Clayton left the stage, and everyone else left the stage and waved, and I remember we were just up there, the band, and Steve and I were the mobile guys, the guitar and bass,
Right.
the guys that could move, and we were up front, and at that point, I remember going,
You're playing with Ray Charles.
No, no, not Rick, no,
Oh,
no, no, I meant we were doing that song.
oh, I
No,
got
no,
all
not Ray
excited.
Charles.
I'm like, wait a minute,
No,
Ray
no,
Charles is there?
no, no, no. We just picked a song that everyone knew
Okay.
to jam on for the finale. But
Yeah.
the guys, Tommy James is there too, right? Tommy James, Clayton, everybody left the stage and waved, and the band was just kind of playing them off. And there was that like 3 minutes there. It was like, oh, it's just like Steve
Wow.
playing
So it was your
on the
gig
front
for
of the
three
stage,
minutes.
standing there and carrying the thing. And so that was, yeah, at the moment, at that time, it was kind of a little thrill.
That's very thrilling. Okay, so Steve has a story, and I don't know, and I see on your resume that you played with Chuck Berry. Is it the same time that Steve played with Chuck
Oh
Berry?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Okay, you got to tell the story because
the story.
you got to tell the Chuck Berry story.
Chuck Berry, my Chuck, I'm
Your
never,
version of the Chuck Berry story.
my career has been reduced to me telling my Chuck Berry story. People meet, oh, tell the
No,
Chuck
not at
Berry
all. It's
story.
just come on,
No,
it's
no,
Chuck
I'm just
Berry.
kidding. That's a joke,
Come
but a
on.
lot of times people will meet me and go, introduce me to somebody. This is the guy I told you about with the Chuck Berry story. Anyway, it was, well, Chuck was like true to form from the stories that many people may have heard about him. Like he shows up like 5 minutes before the gig in a Cadillac with maybe, a diminutive blonde woman his arm around, and he shows up and he supposedly wants to like cash in a briefcase, before he goes on. But and it was right around the time of that movie, the Hail Hail Rock and Roll movie, which you probably saw. Um, for his 60th birthday at the time, and Keith Richards was the musical director, and Keith put this band together, and they were playing his music kind of like, not kind of like, just like his original records, which were this funny thing that hadn't even been invented yet, rock and roll. So it was Chuck and guys that were playing with him were still coming out of kind of the jazz area, like the Louis Jordan era. And so the drums kind of were swinging, even though Chuck's playing straight eighth notes. And there's this really cool thing that as musicians, we were just, enamored with me. And so we were looking so forward because we were really on top of his music and all the funny keys, the jazz keys that he plays in, like necessarily play in E and A and guitar keys. He plays in like B flat and E flat and A flat from playing with his piano player. And anyway, so we were all into that. And I remember Chuck came in and Tom, the drummer, said, "Oh, Mr. Berry, we're so thrilled. I'm so thrilled to meet you, and I'm looking forward to playing your music. I'm playing the original grooves." And then Chuck starts, went from a smile to like, "What are you talking about?" This hazy look. And he goes, "Well, the original feel, like on the records, like Steve Jordan and Keith and oh, no, 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 no. That's Keith Richards' idea. I don't want any of that bullshit. You just give me," he's like, "you just give me straight eight feel, guitar, bass player. If I look at you with my go like this, that means I want you to play the rhythm of my neck, and then watch my feet for the ending and listen to the lyrics. Otherwise, we'd be playing the same song all night." That's what he said. But you know, and as but I could tell he really loved the band because he broke a string. Steve probably tell you this whole story. He broke a string like third song in on Johnny Be Good, and then he pointed to Steve for the middle eight. So Steve got to do that solo, and then Chuck gave him a lot of solos and would go, "Can the man play? Give him, come on, come on, come on!" And he was, we were a great band. We were a perfect band to play his music. And Tom, again, the drummer, tells this story at one point, Chuck's coming up to him, smiling, and he's coming close to his drum kit, and Tom's playing, and he's going, "Man, this is a thrill. I'm going to tell my grandkids someday, look at Chuck is digging us. We're probably like the best band he ever played with, or one of them." And he's so happy, and Chuck gets closer and closer to him, and he goes, "5 more minutes, and we're out of here." And Tom's like, "Wah, wah, wah." Anyway, that's my Chuck Berry story. Yeah.
Oh God. Well, you got to do it. That's fun.
Oh no, it was it was thrilling. And somebody videotaped it. I remember getting off the stage and some dude handed my brother a VHS tape and went, "Here," like the old video cameras where you put the
Wow.
VHS tape right in and filmed on it directly. And so we have that tape. I have to
Well, you guys have to upload that to YouTube. That's crazy.
yeah. So
That would, in fact, somebody, Janet, Grizzuto wrote, John, you and Steve need to
that's my
write a memoir about your road trips and the people you know. You both, and it's true, you both don't age. I mean, it's crazy. I have not seen you in over 30 years and you look exactly the same. It's insane. You do. You look exactly the
well
same.
uh this is what I looked like around the time of the Rock and Roll Cafe, I think.
Oh my God. No, well, the Company of Wolves days, I remember too, when I was doing like Bedrocks and True Blue and stuff, and then you had that really long,
Yeah, we
you
had
had that
very
really
long
long
hair. I
hair.
think I had a body wave. Yes, I had like a body wave at one point where it was, it got really thick and curly. And
Yeah,
uh
but other than that, you
oh look,
truly
there's a picture of me and Clayton on stage with blood, sweat, and tears.
wait, hold that up so we can see that. Oh my God. And
Wait.
you're just a baby. It's the
But,
reflection
yeah, I was
makes it a
looking
little
for
hard to
photos of
see.
us at the Rock and Roll Cafe, and I just kept coming across. Oh, do you remember her? Not that anyone's interested. Remember her? She's one of the bartenders.
No,
No, not important.
I
Anyway,
don't.
stroll down
Um,
memory lane.
I Oh my God. Those were very fun. Those were I had a real crush on you. And then Phoebe came up and she kind of teased me the night she came in and she was saying, somebody's got a crush on you. And I thought she was going to say you. She told me it was Steve. But Steve and I went out on one date, one
Really?
night in all
I didn't
those
know you
years.
guys
Yeah.
went on a
Yeah.
date. I didn't
One
know
night
that.
once. And it was all because Phoebe instigated it actually. But I thought it was you she was talking about. That was very funny. All right.
And I found a
So
picture of Phoebe in our apartment when I shared an apartment with Steve. Look, with Mickey
oh, you
ears on.
know. She and I became fast friends after you
As
guys
a dress.
introduced me to her.
What a crazy,
We ran
wacky, talented person.
all over. She used to take me out of work. Steve and I mean not Steve. Oh God, Artie and Jay used to let me leave the rock and roll because Phoebe was taking me out and she would come pick me up and they'd let me go in the middle of a work night. And she took me all over town. We had a lot of fun. We ran around like crazy. But anyway, okay, so you do in the Hudson River Rats, you're starting to do session work. And well, I know you did a session with Bowie.
I did a session that Tony Visconti called me for a track that David was doing for the Rugrats movie. And yeah, it was Clem Burke was playing drums, and the guy from Tin Machine, Reeves
Reeves
Gabrel, Tin
Gabrel.
Machine,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, and the song actually got cut from the movie and was never in the movie, but it's called Say. It ended up being, but some of the instruments ended up getting replaced, and I don't think I ended up actually on the track, but we recorded a track, and he ended up recycling it for I think it was on the Heathen album. It ended up there and a B-side for a single. And but it's funny, there's this book, yeah, this guy that's doing a book on him, and like the most comprehensive book on Bowie or something. This French guy called me. Well, I was very surprised to get this call, and because he's a friend of his, but I guess he knows everything that ever happened. And he called me to ask me about the session, even though there's really no documentation anywhere
Wow.
that I did it. But it's funny, he called me and wanted to give me this little interview about the session. I guess someday it'll be in his David Bowie book that comes out. But I remember David saying, because he came in to do the vocals the second day, and I was standing there in the control room listening to the track with Tony because they had just done strings, and I'm listening, and David had come in, and I remember going, "Oh, thanks for doing this. Yes, thanks very much." And and then he was sitting on a couch in back, the big, leather studio couch. He was warming up his voice, and I just remember, like, it was very close to my head, and just hearing that voice warming up his vocal was giving me chills. He's like, oh, oh, oh. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, hearing that right in my ear. But that's what I did for David, and
So what were
that's
some
that
what
story.
what were some sessions that you did that stand out as being some of your favorites that you felt great
Um,
about?
I love doing those. I love doing the sessions for the Peter Wolf records, the Fool's Parade record, which was,
Mhm.
yeah, Peter's super cool to work with, and just manic energy, and we were big Jay Giles fans. Like
Me
when I was
too.
a kid, I mean, it was the Beatles, and then but Jay Giles was sort of hearing that live album informed me about, oh, this is what a band is really like a live on stage band. Like the Beatles was all about, like, it was the amazing, the songwriting and the production and just the wonderment of hearing those records, and
Right.
and that it was like kind of a different thing because the Beatles weren't alive by the time, you know I'm listening to them really intently at, like, when I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. They were broken up and they hadn't really played live in a long time, and you know, so yeah, Giles was so that was like an inspiration to really have a band, a garage band, and play as a band. So it was great to get to do that with Pete, and Steve actually came in and ended up getting involved on that record too. My friend Kenny White was producing that record, um, who I met from doing a lot of sessions jingles with, and he was, we had a great chemistry together whenever I worked with Kenny. So yeah, that was very rewarding doing the sessions with Peter. Ian Hunter,
I was
great
gonna
record.
say
I
you
did a
played with
great
Ian.
record for Ian Hunter that my friend Rich Pagano engineered at his studio, and yeah, I got to do one show with Ian. That's it. I always wanted to do more shows with him, but
Did you
that was
play
that's
with
a
Ian at all
fantastic.
when Ricky Byrd was playing with him? Did you
No,
ever?
I played on an
Uh-huh.
album called Rent. Came out
Uh-huh.
in 2000. Yeah, and yeah. Let me think. What else? What other sessions come to mind? It's hard. Um,
So now, all right. So they'll come to you as they come to you. So now, wait, somebody is saying Jack Miller says John is an old friend, excellent bass player, and a great guy. Jack
hey,
Miller.
Jack. Jack.
Um,
Jack used to come see that band I had with Jimmy Vivino and Rich Pagano called Prisoners of Second Avenue.
I just saw that you guys played at Jimmy's birthday party. Jimmy just did this show a couple weeks before that birthday party, and I
Right?
saw you guys were
Oh,
at the
oh,
bitter
cool.
end. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had a great band that I don't know if you ever knew about that band.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, we did. We came together and we were doing all that music from the era of the Fillmore East, like 68 to
You were
70.
too young, but I actually went a few
Yeah,
times
I'm
when
sure
I
you
was like
did.
13 and 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
crazy.
I just a little too young to, but yeah, it was a great, it was a trio. We would, yeah,
So like the music from the film Maurice, that was everything back then. I mean, it was the airplane. It was just I saw Jethro Tull. I
yes, yeah.
saw
Yeah,
everything there.
we did, Tall, Mountain, Humble Pie,
Right. I
Dylan,
saw Humble
uh,
Pie there too.
um,
Jesus.
a mix of any. That was sort of the rule. Like Jimmy said, let's do, only stuff from here, and people that maybe would have gone and played the Fillmore, and the band, a lot of stuff by the band, and we all sang, and And there's some great guests would come down and play with us with that band, the Prisoners. Leslie West came and played with us a bunch, and Warren Haynes and uh, 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 Robert Gordon, Levon sat in with us a couple
That's
times on drums.
crazy.
So we had because Jimmy knows everybody, and so we got a lot of cool people to come down and play with us.
So of the other bands that you toured with, like Joan Osborne, how did you get that gig, and what was that like for you?
I love playing with Joan. Joan's one of those singers. It's so inspiring to hear her voice. Like it's
Mm.
hard not to just like start listening when you're playing. I mean, just like it's like I just want to listen to this. Yeah, and your voice just gets in you, But again, it's just it's like friends, word of mouth. Like we're all in the same,
Mm.
like Jack Petrozelli and uh, I had friends in the band and Andrew Carrillo, the guitar player, and so Gail Ann Dorsey was playing bass, and she could not do this second leg of the tour. Maybe she was going off to play with Bowie at the time or something. I don't know, and it was kind of like the BS&T thing. They gave me a cassette. This is still in the cassette era. This is like
I bet Joan
2000.
knew you were coming though.
No, she knew it was coming, right? But no rehearsal or anything because I came.
Wow.
No, because I just came in and replaced Gail. So she flew home and then I flew out. And so I had a cassette of the show and, it was,
That's crazy.
and yeah, so I did like, well, I don't know, I'll forget how long it was I was out there with her. Like, I don't know, not even 2 months, but, um, and yeah, it was a great band and great songs. And,
And then
um,
Roseanne Cash. I mean, that's quite a. So how did you get that gig?
got that gig through, how did I get that gig? Well, Rich Pagano,
Mhm.
the drummer, she was playing with Roseanne and um remember John Leventhal, the great John Leventhal, her husband and great producer, guitarist. He and Rich, their kids both went to the same nursery school. And they were doing this thing where parents come in and do their thing. And this day, and Rich said, "Come and play with me and John. We're going to do some songs and Roseanne's going to sing." And came down, played some songs for the kids. And then John said, "Hey, we're going to go out on tour for this record, and Zev Katz can't do it, and that's just how things happen. You're you're recommended, or you're in the circle, and that's how it happens."
So
And
while
yeah,
you're doing this stuff, I don't know if this Roseanne Cash thing was before or after. At some point in this, you and your brother get signed, and you have Company of Wolves,
oh,
and
that's way before that.
okay. So
Company of Wolves that was back in the Hudson River Rats era there in the late '80s because Jeff Kent, who I was talking about, who had that put on the
mhm.
blues night for us, who got me into the whole session work uh, thing. He's the one that introduced Steve and Keith when he met Steve. He said, I know this guy who's a great songwriter and like you guys would be a great team together. And so that was he introduced Steve and Keith to each other, and they started writing songs and writing great songs together. And then Keith said, "Well, let's get a band." He knew Frankie LaRocca, who ended up being our drummer, and Steve said, "Well, I know a bass player," and so that's how that happened. And
And
then
that happened really quick. You guys got signed pretty quick, it seemed to me.
yeah, I mean, we got together around '88. First, we were the Keith Brewer band, and then it became apparent that what, this is a band. They were writing a lot of songs together, and
Right.
so then it became Company of Wolves. Later, by '89, we were yeah, and then yeah, we did these we had great demos that we recorded um up at Streams F, another place called Acme, Acme Studios up in Mamaroneck, and demos were really good, and we got a manager that shopped them, and yeah, it was very quick. we didn't really spend a lot of time in a van going out and playing or anything like that. I mean, we probably did like 12 gigs all in New York City, you know. And then we had labels, you know, there were 4 or 5 labels that came down to the showcase, and then there was a deal offered, and that's what happened.
And so what happened?
We were signed by Mercury Polygram to, I think it was, I mean, I think at that time it was for a new band. I think it was really 1 record guaranteed, or I don't know if it was 2. Yeah, we had a good deal. I mean, they gave us a lot of money, you know, for a new band, and you know, back then everything was so different. I mean, people spent, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make a record, you
Right.
know, and yeah, it all got spent. I mean, uh, and we had a great record. I think we probably sold about 100,000 records.
Did you?
We,
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I remember you playing at my venues with Company Wolves. Did you guys get to go out on a tour? You did go out on a tour,
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
you?
we
Yeah.
went. We toured for 6 months. We were hitting it hard. You know, we were barely home for it had to be at least. I remember the album came out in like January 1990, and from March 1990 to September, we were pretty much constantly touring. We toured with Richard Marx actually for
Oh,
about a month,
wow.
opening up for him in like arenas, and then after that, we were just doing like club co-headlining tours with other like new bands of that era, and yeah,
Although Steve says here that you opened for Southside Johnny with the Wolves in Philly. Is
that's
that
funny.
how is
We
that
did.
how you got that gig?
No, no, it's actually right. That's all like that blip. It almost like that was before we were signed. That was very early in the that was one of the rare times we went outside of the city to play. No, no, I that had not we just somebody I don't know how we got that gig, but and I knew a couple people. Tom Major was the drummer then.
Wow.
Tom from Four Sticks. He
Hmm.
was the drummer, and Barry Donnellan, that trumpet player from my friend from BS&T, and Bruce. He was in the band at that time, I remember. But no, I hadn't, you know, it wasn't till God, what was that, 1988? It was not 20 till 20 years later that I started playing with Southside. My good friend Jeff Kazee, the piano player, who I was doing a lot of other playing with, he called me a couple times about, hey, you want to do this? And I was just always very busy, and you know, doing so much work in town, and wasn't really interested. But at one point, it was the right time. He asked me to come out and go to Europe and sub for their bass player, and because Johnny had we had done some little gigs in New York, some blues gigs, because Johnny's a great blues harmonica player. Jeff had put some together, I think with Jeff Golub. It was me and Jeff Golub,
Oh,
Jeff
Jeff
Kazee,
Golub.
and maybe Pelton on drums, and Johnny
Mm.
playing harp. And I know Jeff, well, going too soon. I love
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
with
yeah.
that guy. And yeah, so that's how Johnny had heard me play, and so yeah, I went out and did a 4 or 5 weeks with them in the UK, and well, all over Europe. And then that was like 2007, I guess. Yeah, and then he asked me to join officially the band in 2008, and it just and until a month ago or so, Johnny has stepped down from touring
Oh,
at this point. Um, I don't know what's happening. I mean, as of now, there's nothing. He's taking a break. So, but it was a lot
but
of fun.
that's been a long gig for you.
Yeah, it's been well, do the math. Let's see, that's 17 years.
So, and how much of the year are you out gigging with him? Have you been out gigging with
You know,
him?
it's not like a tour. We're gonna tour for 3 months, and that's
Hmm.
no. It's just like perpetual. We do like 60, 70 gigs a year
What?
probably at the busiest, and he's slowed down the last couple of years. I mean, last year we might have done 40 gigs. I'm not sure, but yeah. So it's So it's just kind of perpetual. We would go to Europe for a couple of weeks every year. We'd do like a Midwest run in a tour bus or the I-95 tour, we would call it down, straight down, Delaware, North Carolina, Florida. We would do that one. And then we do a lot of fly dates where you just fly in for a weekend for 2 or 3 gigs and using rented backline gear and then fly home. A lot of those. And in the middle there also, I did some other things. I did that tour with Billy Joel in like
Yeah. So how did that come to?
2013.
Was Tommy Burns with him
Yeah,
then?
yeah,
Yeah.
Tommy Burns. Yeah, yeah.
So how did you get that Billy Joel
I mean,
thing?
that was very brief. Well, I've known Tommy for years,
Yeah.
and of course Mark Rivera and even Dave Rosenthal, his MD at that time. And Tommy was in the band, and Chuck, I know because I was doing Moving Out. I was subbing a lot on that. Remember the
Oh,
Brothers
right. Right, right,
Billy
right.
show? So I was playing and Moving Out a lot, and I knew all those guys and knew his music. And Billy had retired, if you remember. Remember he did that Shea Stadium show in 2008, and that was like the last thing. And then
Right.
he retired, and so he didn't play for like 4 years. And of course, everybody in his band is off doing whatever, doing different things. And he decided he wanted to try it again, and but his bass player and his saxophone player, Mark, they were not available to do this little run he was going to have in the UK. And so those guys called me. I was like a logical choice because I'm in the family kind of, so we
How fun was that?
oh, that was just big fun. I mean, Billy is just a class act as far as an organization and a guy to work for, and and a great band. Because and they're all familiar to me. It was just very comfortable to walk into that. Um, I had a few weeks, and again to like listen to
And
listen
Billy
to
knew you were coming.
listen to all yes, really, to listen to all the music and play it and we did, yeah, we rehearsed for like I don't know, a week and a half.
And
And
I
then
assume that was all stadiums.
no, I wasn't doing stadiums. No, we were doing well. Wait a minute.
Come on, it's
No,
Billy
no,
Joel. You
no,
had to
no.
be doing.
We were doing it. We did arenas, not stadiums.
Okay. Well, arenas. That's
We did.
yeah.
Yeah, we. It was very short. We rehearsed for like I don't know, maybe it was 2 weeks. We did an unannounced show in Long Island at the theater we were rehearsing,
Wow.
and then
That
we
must have been crazy for the audience.
yeah, it was. I forgot. I don't know. They announced it. I don't know, maybe 2 days before, and
Wow.
but then we went to the UK and Ireland and played. I don't know, a handful. I don't know. We were there for gone for less than a month, and maybe we did 9 gigs because but it's great. You're traveling in style. You're playing amazing venues, and that was interesting because Billy was trying to see, do I want to do this again? So everybody, everybody in his crew, they're looking at me and Andy Snitzer, who is subbing for Mark Rivera, who's an
Mhm.
amazing sax player. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's he's played with Sting and Steely Dan, and like the list goes on. He's a major, serious musician, Andy Snitzer, and so kind of looking at us, go like, you guys, you better do a fucking good job. You better do a good job, and so Billy's like, really digs this and is stress free because we all want to start working again, because that's the greatest. So it was almost like I don't know, almost like a little pressure in a way, almost, but uh, it was cool because he was reaching back and doing obscure. He wanted to do anything. I'm not gonna say anything but his big hits, but he wanted to like
Mm.
cull from his entire. And I never really had a lot of Billy Joel records. I mean, admittedly, I'm not. So he was getting wanting to do these songs that I didn't even know. I never even heard in my life, but he would
Wow.
um obscure songs, album
Like
cut.
what? Can you think of one?
Um, oh God, A Room of Our Own. You know that song?
No,
Um, I mean, and beautiful songs that maybe Where's the Orchestra and ones I really didn't really know so well, Vienna.
I know
And
Vienna. I love
yeah,
Vienna
but like I
actually.
didn't,
Uh-huh.
I didn't have the album. So, but he
Uh-huh.
would every before every gig,
Hmm.
a couple days before the gig, Dave Rosenthal, the MD, would send us all an email and say, "All right, listen to these 5 songs." And they weren't even on the list of songs that I was given to learn for the show. Like I had my, 30 songs that I learned, but then
Right.
every day they would say, well, Billy just said he wants to try these. And, here's a link to them. Or, so then I would, we'd learn like 5. I would try to bone up on these 5 songs. We'd play them at sound check and he would decide, yeah, yeah, I like that. Yeah, let's do that. And then sometimes he wouldn't. We would just play him at sound check and he would not do them. But,
But
nonetheless,
that must have made it fun. That must have
it
kept it
was. It was a
fresh.
lot of
Yeah.
fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it was challenging, and it was you go, holy shit! I don't know these songs. I'm going to learn them, and we might play them in this huge arena tomorrow. And so and but he
How did the fans react to these deep cuts? Were they responsive to them
well, because his
or?
fans know everything. If you're
Yeah, that's
right,
true.
if
Yeah,
you're a serious fan, yeah. I
that's
mean,
true.
they would really cheer to hear those songs, and it was weird because like the way he sets up on stage, like his piano, he's not even like in the center of the stage. He's kind of off to the side a little bit because the piano's big, and then Tommy's all the way on stage right, and he's kind
Mhm.
of leaning towards stage left, and I was like in the middle.
Wow.
I'm a new guy, and I'm like in the middle of the stage, and
Wow.
it was yeah, it was a little butterflies at first, like, holy shit, okay.
Were you singing backup too?
No, I wasn't. I thought I was going to. I remember getting together with his bass player, showing me like, here's the songs I sing on, and learning the parts. And I mean, when we started rehearsing, Tommy kept saying, Burns kept saying, no, 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 don't, I got this. We got this. And Billy's stand-in. This is funny because Billy didn't come to the first bunch of rehearsals, and he had a guy, this guy Mike Del Judas, super talented guy, piano player, singer, who knows all Billy's stuff. In a
Hmm.
band called Big Shot, I think he still does. And then Billy showed up one day, and then Tommy just put this bug in his ear. Michael's here, and he knows all your songs, and he could play a little acoustic guitar, and he can do backgrounds, and he can. And Billy goes, Michael, come take a walk with me. And so they come back, and Michael's like, I got this, I got the Billy Joel gig. So Michael ended up being the guy to cover all the backgrounds, and I didn't have to do any, which was fine with me. I had my hands full, playing the bass. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
got to hear you play a sing lead today, which I don't have a lot of memory of you singing lead a lot, but I saw a video.
I
I'll
used
be
to
your
sing
baby
lead.
tonight.
What
You
was it?
did I'll be your baby tonight. You said this is a song we used to sing with Rosemary when we were little kids, and this is a different version. And it was you and John not that long ago at a pretty recent gig, I think.
It was me
And
and
you were
Steve.
singing. Hmm?
It was me and Steve.
It was you and Steve. Did I say John?
Oh,
It was you and
was it
Steve.
with Rich Pagano at,
Yeah, with Rich Pagano.
at Carroll
And
Place, that place that used to be Cat
yes.
Blues. Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was just the three of you, and you were singing lead. And I was like, wow, I don't know if I've ever heard you sing lead before. Because you didn't sing lead back in the day in
I
front
had a few songs I would sing with the rookies at the Rock and Roll Cafe.
too often. It was
I had a
rare that
few, but yeah, I had a few, but not many. I remember I would sing that Stone song, "If You Can't Rock Me,"
hmm?
and something else at the Rock and Roll Cafe, something by the
Oh,
Who. I don't know. I had a few I did, but
the
I
days,
did
the
I
day.
sang that song in. We had another band with Southside Johnny called Southside Johnny and the Poor Fools. Maybe a lot of people might not know about this. It was just a 5-piece band. and we all switched instruments. We all took turns playing drums and
Really?
harmonica, or I'd jump on guitar or banjo, and everyone else would switch. And
How
I did
fun.
that. I would sing that song in the Poor Fools. That's I started doing it a lot during the Poor Fools.
How fun.
I think that was Steve's idea because we did it in we did it more like a rock and roll thing. The Dylan version is it's slow is a slow
No,
version.
it was great. You also got to do like a 45-minute set. I saw, well, I saw the pictures with Bruce with Southside, didn't you?
Oh yeah, Bruce has showed up quite a few times. I've gotten to do a bunch of things with him over the years, but there was one night in particular on the summer stage Stone Pony gig. Yeah, we stayed a long time. I mean, did almost an hour with us, and
Wow.
he's done it a few times with us, and I've done some other shows with him, um, where I was part of a band, like a house band, and Bruce would come and do a set. And yeah.
I saw you playing with a bunch of people, seeing the pictures with Frampton. What was that about?
Oh, that was great. God, he's such a sweet man, and still just playing his butt off. My friend Rob Arthur, very good friend Rob Arthur, is his keyboard player, musical director. But this was there's an organization called Sandy Hook Promise that is an organization trying to fight for sensible gun legislation and keeping people safe. Started by guy I've come to be friends with, a great musician, guitar player named Mark Barden, who unfortunately lost his son
Mm.
in the Sandy Hook shootings.
Mm.
So there's this organization, we do shows, and they started filming these shows to make a documentary film, which Sheryl Crow was the
Oh,
executive.
I saw you playing with Cheryl
Yeah,
as well.
she was
Mhm.
involved. She was the executive producer of the film called A Father's Promise, which is out. You can see it. It's on. I posted something a couple months ago about it. It's on the streaming platforms.
Oh, so this was recent.
Yeah. I did. We did the first one we did with Cheryl was down in Nashville in like 2022. Then last year, the one we did here at the Screwball Theater at NYU was with Cheryl was on that as well as Peter, and we did 3 or 4 songs with Peter. And yeah, it was really, really super cool to sit there like right next to him with the talk box thing. And you're going like, here's the guy who basically put that thing on the
Jesus.
map, and you're sitting right next to him while he's going, wow, thank you. Wow, wow. He's doing his whole thing. And he just has so much fun playing. He's generous, with the band as far as, listening and smiling and musicality and really hearing people and loving what they're contributing. And so that was really an
Isn't
awesome.
that
Yeah.
lovely?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, right? If you told me when I was 13 and smoking a joint and listening to Frampton Comes Alive that I was going to be playing with him someday, you
That's
know,
crazy.
no.
How about I saw you were playing with Dion? That's like another person from like, God, like how
Yeah,
did that come about?
I did a couple things with him earlier, like years ago with Jimmy. He came in and sat in with us with the bands I had with Jimmy Vivino. But the last time I was with him was with Bruce. Also, it was Bruce Jackson Brown. It was
What was that for?
it was the American Music Honors
Mm.
Bruce Springsteen for the Bruce Springsteen Archive for American Music. It's this new thing, which is headquartered at Monmouth University in Jersey. And yeah, they give out an award every year. They honor four artists. They were honoring Dion, um, Mavis Staples, Jackson Brown, and who's the other one? Mellencamp. Mellencamp. So I was in the Disciples of Soul that night because my good friend Jack Daly could not do it. So I was the bass player for the Stevens Van Zant's band that night, who was the house band. So yeah, that was a thrilling. It was an amazing night of music with all those artists. Jackson, got to play with Jackson and Mavis and Bruce came up and did the encore. Dion, the guy's like, I mean, he's 83. You just wouldn't know it. He's so youthful still, just the way he moves, and he's in great physical shape, his voice, his guitar playing, he's I hope I'm that way when I'm 84.
Well, it sounds like for a boy that had a dream, you've gotten to kind of live it. Um, you've gotten to play with a lot of your heroes and play on those
Yeah,
stages and play that
that's the
music. So John, before we go, so when COVID hit, what did you do when everything shut down? How did you use that time?
well, I got a lot better with finally spending some time learning how to better uh, record with Logic, computer-based recording. That's one of the things I did, and I've got a lot of music in the can that my own stuff that I am waiting, just finishing up. It's not all finished. Actually, some of it's on my Bandcamp page. Actually,
Okay, that was my next question. So, what's the best link for me to put up so that people can get to your music?
I have the Bandcamp page. It is
You're gonna, you know what? Send it to me, text it to me, and I'll put it on the liner notes with the show so people can click it and get to your music.
yeah.
And
I forget what the exact. I know I should know this. See, it's the exact. I guess it's bandcamp.com// my name. Let me see. Wait, I think that's what it is. Let me see.
and so and so if Southside's taking a bit of a breather and you're not playing that much with Steve, what's it look like for you right now? What do you want? Do you want to focus on your own music? What do you want to be doing now? What else are you doing now?
Um, Interesting question. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Steve and I come together and do some events still, and we will probably do a few things together this year as the Contes and Company of Wolves, actually, because uh, uh, there's a French label that's licensing a couple of our albums, and we want to do some shows. And not that that's a big time consuming thing or anything, but I mean, there's other artists that uh that I work with that I'll continue to work with. I mean, because everybody in Southside Johnny obviously did other things because we weren't working, you know, 300 days a year
Right.
with Southside. But it was somewhat of a commitment. You've got dates on the calendar and you honor them. It's a band. And there were situations like the Billy Joel thing where everyone had a sub, or if you got something, like that, you would take off. So there's always other relationships that are with people that are current, that never go
Right.
away. So yeah, and I do want to. I'm gonna focus on finishing my music and getting more of it out there. That's definitely one of the things I'm gonna do for sure.
Well, it's been absolutely a treat to see you again and to take this little walk down memory lane, John.
Yeah,
I hope that the next time I'm in New York that I get to see you and come to hear you guys play would be so fun.
yeah, yeah. It would be.
It's
And then if well, it's getting dark in here, and certainly if I don't know when I'm gonna be out your way, but are
Yes,
you
let us
okay, by the
know.
way, with everything that's all the shit, all the fires and everything that unfortunate things that have happened out there?
It's been crazy. We got
Um,
evacuated for almost a week. It was really crazy, but we're the lucky ones that we have our house, which I can't say is true for a lot of people that
Yeah,
I know, which is
it's
crazy.
really tragic.
But yeah, it's been great to see you. You look exactly as I remember you, which is sick, completely insane. But please send my love to your mother and to your sister. I don't know Jeff, but why not to him too? And Steve, I can just send it to him right here. John, thanks so much for doing this. And
All right. Well,